Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, what a week. We could talk about Best Actress again, and we're going to start with Lady Gaga, who is a shock Best Actress winner at the New York Film Critics Circle last week. Just what a time to be alive, Joyce.
This is exactly what we needed in this race. And, I actually had a feeling that maybe she could win one of the big three because, regardless of all the reactions to the film itself, everyone agrees that she's the best part of the film.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I too was not super surprised. We did a little preview of it, and I was like, oh, we didn't talk about Lady Gaga. We talked about Ben, actually, right? Was our big
our boy Ben, who now has a Twitter FYC going on with a compilation of his best clips from the last duel. Yeah,
which I absolutely want to get to because we need to bring in Ben into this conversation. But yeah, I was like you said, I think while maybe I think it definitely was the biggest when they announced Lady Gaga was the winner, maybe the biggest shock of the winners from the New York Film Critics Circle, which is maybe an austere group, you think, and they're going to be a little more highfalutin. If you look at other people who won, it was Benedict Cumberbatch and Cody Smith-McPhee won Best Actor and Supporting Actor for Power of the Dog. Jane Campion Best Director for Power of the Dog. Who won? I got to look here.
Catherine Hunter won Supporting Actress.
Right, Catherine Hunter, Supporting Actress for Macbeth, and then Lady Gaga just blaring away. And obviously everybody's vote counts the same, but if we would have thought about it, I think Stephanie Zacaric, who's the critic at Time, wrote a glowing review of Lady Gaga.
Yeah, there were a lot of tea leaves for her win.
Yes. And St. Jordan Hoffman, who's the vice chair, also was tweeting about how she just is explosive performance. So it's a lot of major support on the New York Film Critics Circle group for Lady Gaga. So not totally surprised that she won. It is absolutely probably the best thing in the movie. No offense to our boy Jared Leto, who I still have winning and think he'll get nominated, but I'm she's awesome in it. It is definitely the top line thing. And yet Joyce, Best Actress is so crowded. I'm having a tough time getting her in.
So this is hilarious because last week I watched Parallel Mothers finally.
Oh, how was that?
It was good. Yeah. Great use of color in the film, and Penelope is great. And then I was just kind of maybe because I felt bad dropping Penelope a couple weeks ago to put in Alana Haim.
Yes.
And then I just don't have room for everybody, So then I was I want to get Penelope back in there. And then I dropped I literally dropped Gaga on Thursday last week, the day before he won. I know. And then now I'm I do want to put Gaga back in there, and I guess I'll just drop Penelope again.
So actually, I'm a liar. I just looked and I do have Gaga back in. And I did drop Penelope. So
I guess I'll do that.
Here's my 5 right now. I just pulled it up. Apologies to myself for not remembering what I picked. I change it so much.
You did say last week you had Rachel Zegler in for 30 seconds.
I have her back. So here's my list now.
Because she won NBR.
Right. Rachel Zegler was the winner of NBR and obviously has made a great impression on West Side Story. I have Nicole Kidman, who we'll get to shortly, for being the Ricardos, still in first place for me. I think she has a very strong shot of winning. Kristen Stewart in second for Spencer. I had to put Olivia Colman back in for Lost Daughter. I feel
wow, you dropped Olivia.
I had her in. I put her back though. I have her in now because I just feel that's going to have a good come around, and because it's actually, even though most people have seen it either in the festivals or screeners or whatever, it does feel like that's going to have a comeback as it comes to Netflix at the end of the year, and I think people are going to be very impressed with her performance. And then I have Rachel Zegler instead of Alana Haim because I was I think one of them actually could get in. I don't think both of them get in. And I think West Side Story is a stronger Best Picture contender than Licorice Pizza, though it's close. So I put her in, and then I have Lady Gaga in just for the pure chaos of it in 5th. That would be an amazing lineup. And I'm still, like you said, I'm out on Jessica Chastain, who I love, Penelope Cruz, who I love. They're actually 4th and 5th in our combined odds. I was just looking. So it's Kristen Stewart, Nicole Kidman, Coleman are the top 3. And then Chastain and Cruz, Lady Gaga in 6th, Zegler 7th, Haim 8th, Jennifer Hudson, who I had in for a hot second, 9, Frances McDormand, 10 for Macbeth.
Yeah, we talked about this on Friday, right? Like the top
Yes.
10 is stacked, even
It's
beyond
unreal.
that. Yeah.
Unreal. So yeah, I mean, I was like, I'm still like, I'm trying to figure out how to get Jennifer Lawrence in for Don't Look Up. I know that's impossible at this point, but I'm just like, man, she's so good in it. I don't know.
You just really want that comeback.
I
Not
do.
for
I
her.
love Jennifer Lawrence. I'm just like, this is too crowded, this category. We didn't even mention Tessa Thompson and Amelia Jones for Coda, Jodie Comer for The Last Duel.
Ugh, I wish.
Ugh, so many. So yeah, so that was it. So Lady Gaga getting a great boost.
I,
from the
I
New
just
Film
I just
Critics.
dropped Penelope again for Lady Gaga. This is I'm so fickle.
Well, and Penelope's in fifth in the combined odds. I still haven't seen Parallel Mothers. I think I'm supposed to see in a couple weeks, but remains very likely that she would get. I don't know. I still think she could get in. What if there's like a tie and there's actually 6? Can that happen, Joyce?
No, they're not gonna do that. I mean, there could be a tie for the winner.
What if they make it
That
10 nominees just for this year?
I am not a fan of expanding and like I'm having a hard time filling out my 10 for best picture, which I also like have to change.
I do think if it was bigger, we would feel less. I think it's more fun to like try to slot it in. If it was just a 10, you would be like, well, everybody gets in, so there's not as much
because then
drama.
it's just like just take the top 10 right now,
right?
Like,
which is a great top 10.
And it's also not like everyone has like pros and cons.
Yes.
And so yeah, I think like Alana and Rachel can both get in just because like their films are stronger than everybody else's, really.
So
like,
if you look at the list, it's hard to argue that anything other than that. I think like if you were ranking the movies, certainly by like the critical response, I think the top 3 would be like West Side Story, Licorice Pizza, Lost Daughter, and Parallel Mothers, I guess would be 4 from like a movie standpoint of like what people have really liked.
Yeah. And like Lost Daughter is more like highbrow, like
yes.
arty, you know? So.
And then all the other ones have like, you know, I mean, Spencer has proven to be polarizing, which I think we kind of expected.
Yes.
Nicole, being the Ricardos, the reviews this week, less than kind, Joyce, I would say.
Yeah. Yesterday, today's Wednesday, so reviews for being the Ricardos and Don't Look Up came out yesterday.
Yes.
Big day on December 7th.
Yes. Not the greatest. Not the greatest response to either of them, and as I think we were saying on Slack, not a major surprise.
No, not a surprise at all. Because even I don't know if like people like conflated like the initial like social reactions to like Ricardos, because it was a lot of like, wow, Nicole's actually great, but like the film itself, like there were still like reservations about it. It wasn't like this is a best picture contender, like top 3, you know, like it could win. It was kind of like, this is Aaron Sorkin's best film yet that he's directed, maybe. Like there were still like reservations about it. And like, I think it was like tacitly understood if you like read between the tweets that if it were to get into best picture, it would be like a bottom dweller, you know, like 9-10 or something.
Right. I still think it could be a strong,
it's still like SAG friendly. And, you know, like we also talked about like how like Sorkin is not like the best director. Like I do think like this is his best effort, and I actually prefer this to his previous 2 films. Like I think this is better than Chicago 7. I enjoyed it more, and Chicago 7 had better reviews, and I felt like it was like just like a mediocre movie. And it was always funny to me last year that people were trying so hard to make it happen as like the alternative to Nomadland.
Me, this idiot was trying to do that. I love Chicago 7. I also love being Ricardos. I'm a full Sorkin stan. I would say that the one reason I actually think it could do well and better than people think and be one of those like, you know, I could just see the eye rolling tweets from like the film Twitter elite when it gets like 7 nominations or something on Oscar nomination day, is that Sorkin like continually works with like incredible people. So like his below the line collaborators are awesome. It's Daniel Pemberton, it's Alan Baumgarten, it's Jeff Cronenweth. Like the production design is amazing. I actually think the people who he's working with are so respected that they could sneak in like 1 or 2 nominations there very easily. I think I really could see that happening. I could see production design or score or editing for this, just because like I think those people are really well liked, and then that would get it in for picture, and then at least Nicole at the moment, I think I only have Nicole in.
I feel like Nicole can still get in.
I think she's still
but-
going to win. I really can't. I mean, she's so good at it. And it's like, I don't know. I just don't.
I still have her in first. Like, I'll support her. Like, you have to keep it interesting.
I also am just like, I don't know who else. Like, I just don't believe. I think if you were while the reviews for Spencer were certainly better than the reviews being the Ricardos, anecdotally, I would just imagine that there's more goodwill towards being the Ricardos within the Academy than Spencer probably, or at least it's more liked, I would say broadly.
I feel like Ricardos would probably appeal more to like older voters, you know. And so that's why I could see it, depending on the composition of the SAG nom-com, like I could see it doing, I could see this just based on like the reviews, not reactions, because like they're different things too, and they don't need to be the same either. Like this could just kind of be like a Trumbo trajectory. Like remember Trumbo? And like that played well at SAG. It got into ensemble at SAG. And then at the Oscars, it was just Bryan Cranston.
I just think this is so much better than Trumbo, though.
It is.
So,
yeah. It is better than Trumbo. But like I could see that being, because like no one was like super excited about Trumbo. I don't think it got like a lot of pans like Ricardos did. I didn't read any reviews, but that was just like the sentiment I was gathering.
Well, yeah. Also, like, I don't know, like we were saying, not to be too conspiratorial, but I'm like, Aaron Sorkin, not the most, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of goodwill for him, let's say, sometimes in some corners.
He's not the most popular figure
at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I think, and also like you were saying, I think like Chicago 7 got really pretty solid reviews. And I always wonder when critics give something like, and I think we see this, we'll talk about Don't Look Up. We could talk about that too. The reviews were similarly negative or mixed negative, I guess. When the previous film is given not a pass, but like gets like solid reviews. And then like maybe the longer it's in the conversation, the more people are just kind of like rolling their eyes at it. When the next film comes out, they're like going to be sharper elbowed towards it. I mean, I saw that with like, yeah, I don't know. I think with like Vice, people like it had solid reviews, but I think if you ask people about it now, they would be negative on it.
Vice was like very polarizing.
It was.
I remember like I went to the first screening of that, and I just remember like there were so many people who like loved it and like so many people who like hated it. And I think the embargo on that was like pretty late too.
Right.
So, but and like we talked about this, what was it, like 2 weeks ago when we saw Don't Look Up. Like I expected the reaction to still be mixed for Don't Look Up. Like I like Don't Look Up more than Vice, but it's still not everyone's cup of tea. Like his style is just not
right.
Like
and
completely accessible for everyone.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that. I don't think it is either. I greatly enjoyed it too. And I was not surprised by the negative reviews at all. And I don't think they really matter at all in the grand scheme of things. So I'll be curious to see, I guess, if, I don't know, I'll be curious to see if people like kind of start moving these movies down in their predictions. Like, so let me see. I have Don't Look. Nicole is still second to Kristen. And let's see where, Don't Look Up. I'm scrolling. What a thrilling thing. McKay is seventh in director. I still have him in myself. And the movie is...
Listen, Vice got 8 nominations.
Right. And the movie is 8th for Best Picture, which I think is still solid.
I think Don't Look Up can still get into picture. I don't know about Ricardos. And
well, what would you drop? Let me ask you this. What would you drop? Here's the combined odds right now. Power of the Dog, which was a massive success, it seemed, for Netflix this week when it was out. And I think it had like, I saw they had like 25 million hours watched or something, whatever their metric is.
It's I think they tweeted yesterday, it was like their #1 global hit.
Which is like,
I don't know what it's just words.
Whatever it means,
words.
Just incredible to think that like absolutely more people have watched this movie than probably any of Jane Camp. Like, you know what I mean? It's just as wild to me that.
Well, like her entire filmography is on Netflix right now, right?
So that's like kind of cool, right? Like if you think about it. Anyway, Power of the Dog #1, combined odds. Belfast, Licorice Pizza 3, Dune 4 still, King Richard 5, West Side Story 6, Nightmare Alley 7, Don't Look Up 8, Tragedy of Macbeth 9th, which I don't have in. Ricardos 10th, and then you're looking at Coda, Tick Tick Boom, Spencer, House of Gucci are like the last.
Should I put House
kinda-
of Gucci back in?
So that I gotta tell you, I actually put Tick Tick Boom in myself. So a lot of affection for that movie.
Yeah, should I put Gucci or Tick Tick Boom in? I already have Coda in.
I actually dumped Coda and Gucci for Tick Tick Boom, and I actually put Nightmare Alley in 10th because I felt like, again, just the amount of
Will carry
crafts, it really is gonna. I think, like, I do think there's like a world where it gets in. The crafts are just impeccable, and it could get like 6 or 7 craft nominations. So I think if it has,
it's just like it's kind of hard to, because it's different this year because it's a solid 10 now. That like in the previous years for Best Picture, when you're nominating, you only list 5. So now because it's a solid 10, you list 10. So it's hard to get. I think it's easy for everyone to list 5. Like we talk about this with the Emmys too, because they have an unlimited ballot nominating for the Emmys. So I think everyone can list their like top 3 or 4 favorites or whatever. But then when you have more space, it's like, what are you going to fill it out with? Because like no one like truly loves 10 movies, you know, like you have like,
I think when you end up,
favorites.
I wonder if I was me, I would be like, so I would say like Tick Tick Boom then probably could get in because I think it has enough passion where people are like, I love this movie, I have to put 10 movies on. I'm going to put this on, whether, you know what I mean, whether or not I have it in other places, it might only get 1 other nomination with like Andrew. But I think that like there's enough passion for it. And Nightmare Alley, I think people are just going to be really respectful of because of all the crafts and obviously the filmmaking prowess. So those are my 2. Coda would be great. I just felt like I've been stumping for Coda for weeks. And
are you like losing hope in Coda?
I am a little, just because I feel like I wish it would have gotten more critical recognition. Obviously, there's still time. I mean, I feel like it definitely needs like a big pop at some point, whether it's like Best Picture from the LA critics, which I don't think would play because I feel like that's like going to be Licorice Pizza, which just seemed like logical, or like like a SAG ensemble nomination with like another nomination.
I could see getting into SAG.
If it got in with SAG and like Amelia got in Best Actress somehow, or like Troy Kotzer in Best, you know what I mean? If there was like 2 nominations from SAG, I think that would really help get it back in the conversation. But otherwise, it just kind of feels like people aren't talking about it enough. Though I guess we're talking about it right now.
I think part of that is because like it was on Apple. Like I think it would be completely different if it were on Netflix. But I think we've talked about this. Like we don't know anyone who's seen it who hates it.
Right. Like, everyone likes it.
So so I feel like if you're trying to, so the reason I put it in is because I feel like if you're trying to fill out the 10 and because like me, I would just like, if I don't have like 10 films, I'll probably just move on and like list my 5 and like move on, you know, but like some people do fill out the whole thing. And I think like, even if that's not your favorite film and you're just trying to like think back on films that you watched this year that you enjoy, but were not your favorites, like I think Coda would fit that profile more so than like a polarizing movie like Don't Look Up. But maybe that's already in like your top 5, you know,
right.
You love,
that's
like
the thing.
Don't Look Up.
I don't know. I mean, like we had said, I think there's going to be like at least a couple of really good movies and like that don't get in.
Also, like, remember the last time they had like 10, they had Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close.
So I was saying to you, I posited recently that like I greatly enjoyed all these December. Like there was no of these like late run movies. I was like, oh, there's no Extremely Loud in here. But based on the critical response, you would say there's multiple Extremely Louds in here. So I wonder which of those Extremely Louds will end up getting in. I don't know. I think both.
It's just, I mean, so like of these like late breaking films, the only one that kind of survived, I guess you could say, is West Side Story. Like everyone agrees,
right,
that that's a great movie.
Yeah, that one has gotten the peerless reviews.
Yeah,
and no seeming backlash at all to it.
Yeah,
and a lot of goodwill for Steve Spielberg.
And I guess you could say even like before that, or like when we said this last week, like people were like skeptical about it when it was announced. Like, why are they remaking this? You know?
Right.
So I think like right now, like with that movie, it's just like people like might be hesitant to predict it to win because it'll be a Best Picture winner again, like the same title, you know.
I've definitely been hesitant to put it up. I still have Power of the Dog winning. I also am not sure.
I put West Side Story in second last week.
I have it in second.
Like, I really liked it, and I put my boy Mike Feist in to supporting actor.
Same. So I have him a hot second place behind Jared.
I think I'm going to put Ariana in first in supporting actress. Actually,
I still have Kirsten in supporting, but I have Ariana and Rita Moreno in there as well.
Yeah, I have Ariana and Rita in.
Let's briefly do supporting actor, Joyce. You mentioned Mike Feist.
Feist.
I'll get it right.
It's like a time heist. Like Jesus Feist. He deserves
Jesus Feist, time heist. Got it. Okay, great. Mike Feist. Got him in second. Put Cody Smith McPhee, New York Film Critics Circle supporting actor winner in third. Jamie Dornan and Ciaran Hinds in fifth. I have both Belfast boys getting in. I still think there's a world where that definitely happens because they're both very likable. But that means I don't have our buddy Ben Affleck in. And I got to say, there's definitely been a renewed push on social media, at least, to remember that the last
there's been I think it's the movie's on like VOD. It's like number 1 on iTunes. I was like, I really do want to watch it again. I was looking and it's like $20. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait till it drops. I've seen it. It's great. I can wait to spend more money on it. But yeah, I'm very excited to watch it because the Ben performance is great. And that 2-minute clip of him on Twitter, what a hoot. Oh my gosh. It was just like they, if he gets in, they should just play that like for his clip, the whole thing.
I was like, we talk about this like literally every week, the whole thing, and like kind of like really picking over the minutia of the awards race and stuff. And I'm like, everyone does seem to like his performance and like enjoys his acting. And I think maybe in the end he will get in just because like it's almost undeniable that he's like good in it. And I think he does have goodwill amongst, people who would be in the Academy, and obviously now Ben goes through ebbs and flows, it feels like, on social media where people are like really into him and then also sometimes not into him.
I think now that like Bennifer is back,
it definitely feels like we're in a great time for him.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we're like early 2000s again, which is like my favorite time.
And I'm like,
it's always the year 2000 in my mind. So
it is the kind of scene stealing performance that like supporting actor was probably made for. And like, I mean, again, it would be tough. It's tough to find room because this category is so crowded and like,
it's not that it's tough to find room. It's just like, it's very chaotic.
Chaos is the right word. It's like, you could find any number of people who would get in.
So here's what I realized about this category last week after I saw West Side Story, and I was like, I want Mike Feist to win.
Yes.
And, like the past 3 years, the winners in supporting actor were co-leads.
Right.
And I know some people felt that like Sam Rockwell in Three Billboards was a co-lead. I don't think so. He's probably like borderline, but supporting completely fine. Like that was Francis's story. But anyway, definitely the last 3 years, Mahershala Ali, Brad Pitt, and Daniel Kaluuya. And I think in those years, it made it very easy to like, just target the front runner, especially because like, it's like it's like category front. I don't care about category front, whatever. Do what you need to do.
I know what you mean. What you mean.
But like people, I ID them, and it's like they're gonna be the front runner, they're gonna win, and it pans out that way as well. Also, like their films are strong, whatever other factors, and then the other nominees in their fields, like it was like easier in a way to fill them out. But I feel like because like you had that anchor with like those co-leads there, it made it so much easier to like look for like the other contenders. And like 2 years ago, we had that 5 locked down in like October because it was like Brad, like Double Irishman, Tom Hanks returning finally after like 19 years, and Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
Like that was a very easy category to nail down that year. I don't think like anyone talked about that category for like months,
No, it felt like Brad was going to win from like September 1st.
Yeah. And then last year it was just like, who's going to get that 5th spot? And it was Lakeith,
which no one expected because
there was no lead in Judas, clearly.
And also like even Daniel Kaluuya was like an obvious winner from like once that movie started.
Yeah. And even like that movie was delayed because of COVID, because this was come out in August 2020. But anyway, we don't have like a category fraud, I'm doing air quotes, like co-lead this year. And like they're true supporting performances, and you have like basically a glorified cameo from Bradley Cooper, who I just put back in actually.
I took him out somehow. It just is like, it's a wild, yeah, they're all actually supporting. Like none of even, Jared and like Cody Smith-McPhee, I guess, and like they're all like not in it. They're just not in the movies.
They're
like,
supporting performances.
Yeah, it's like hilarious that this is like a legit supporting year, and that's why I'm like, maybe we get Ben in. I don't know.
I wish the movie were coming out now or like in November. Like I think the October date was bad for it, and then it bombed box office wise. Which like again, I don't think that is the end of the world. Just like I don't think bad reviews are the end of the world, because it's just a factor in this whole like cocktail of things to get nominated. But I think it is good that people are discovering the film now that it's out on VOD.
Yeah.
And because also remember when it premiered in Venice, right, in like September, like it got like pretty tepid reviews, and then everyone was kind of like, oh, this is going to be bad. And that was already like the sentiment like when this movie was announced, because it was like, why are like Matt and Ben writing a rape movie?
Yes. Yes.
But then like as it got closer to release, like it got positive reviews, and people who saw it, liked it. And I think that's the thing now. Like if you watch it, like most people like it, and the performances, and like I think most people also agree it's the better Ridley Scott film of 2021.
Yeah, and I think that's true, and I think that Ben is just, he pops off the screen in the movie. He has so much fun, and it's such a great role for him. And it's also like something we have, like when we did remember like 7 years ago when we saw The Tender Bar, and after the movie George Clooney gave this, he was doing a conversation, he was like, or maybe it was either that or when they did another premiere, he was basically saying that Ben had not had the opportunity to play the kind of character that he does in Tender Bar. He's excellent in The Tender Bar. I still maintain that he's really good, Ben. It's like a great performance, great role. And that's true, but I'm like, he's also never really had a chance to be so like he is in Last Duel. I think he's played bullies and like bad guys before, but like this is so preening, and he's so hilarious, and just like it is a delightful performance for Ridley. I don't know. I wonder, like you said, I think people are going to want to check it out because maybe they missed it in the theaters, and they will be pleasantly surprised because it's actually good. And, maybe they're expecting it not to be. So I could see. And plus, I always wonder, like, while the box office matters, clearly, like, Ridley taking a stand, really just out there on the warpath, telling people to F off.
Oh my God, this press tour, amazing, incredible.
First of all, how is it still a press tour for Last Duel? He's still doing press for it, which I think is remarkable. I assume for like VOD or international. I don't even know.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
But I'm like, him out there being like, F millennials for watching on their phones, which is so
like, okay,
nonsensical.
It's Gen Z, you mean? Gen Z.
It's totally nonsensical. But I'm like, I think there's going to be a faction of like people in the Academy who are like, hell yeah, Ridley Scott, speaking truth to power, or whatever we think of power now, whatever we doing. And I'm like, maybe that alone gets like a goodwill towards Last Duel.
I know. I mean, like Last Duel, like the crafts are also great.
Great crafts. It could honestly get like a few nominations. I don't know.
I did have like it in there like early on after seeing it in like some of the below the line, but I've just dropped it since seeing other things. But
same.
Like I would love to see it nominated below the line if Ben can get in.
I mean, so like who knows? I don't know. I would love for that to happen. So keep on keeping on for Ben. Let's see anything. So West Side Story, that's out this week also. A lot coming out this week. So Ricardos.
Yeah, West Side Story hits theaters.
Yes,
this week.
So Ricardos and Don't Look Up are in theaters this week before coming to Amazon and Netflix respectively at the end of the year. So I don't think people they won't be reporting on those box office figures. Let's say Netflix and Amazon. I don't think they usually do that.
No, but I imagine after like Don't Look Up hits Netflix, it'll be like their like global like holiday hit or something.
Yeah, I imagine
whatever metric they want to make up.
If 30 million people engaged with Power of the Dog, I imagine a Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence movie will find itself highly highly trafficked over Christmas holiday, I would imagine, even though it's not a super heartwarmer.
I mean, yeah,
I picture people sitting down and watching on Christmas Eve, like,
it's a comedy.
Let's watch this comedy. It's gonna be great. And just sitting there, just blank face at the last half hour, which is so dark. But that'll be fun. I think that'll be good.
Listen, it has those 2 credit sequences too.
Oh yeah, it does end on a comic note, but not totally. No, but I'll be curious. I think that'll do really well for sure. And I think, I'm from using Amazon a lot to watch PBS Kids. I know that they really love to promote their big releases on the homepage, and I imagine being the Ricardos will have like a dominant presence on the Amazon homepage for most of the over Christmas holiday. Basically, it comes out I think December 21st. That one I could see a lot of people being like, "What are we going to watch with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa tonight?"
It's like I grew up with I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I think that'll do really well, and I think that's good. I mean, I don't know. I think people will watch these movies, which is kind of cool. I do still think that. But West Side Story out in theaters this week. So yeah, I got 4 actors in for West Side Story, Joyce. I went deep.
I have 3.
So I put Rachel in for actress. I just think that
I would like to put Rachel in. I don't know who I would drop though. Like, do I drop?
I just think she's like. I guess the argument would be Natalie Wood probably would have gotten nominated for Maria, but she had Splendor in the Grass that same year and was nominated.
And also she was dubbed.
So it's like this. Rachel is obviously a very accomplished singer. I think she's great in the movie. And like, I don't know, I just feel like people are very excited about her performance. It just is like kind of undeniable. So I feel like, again, since people like her and the movie, that she would get in. And then I have Mike Feist and Rita and Ariana both in. And I still think that could happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I have the 3 supporting, and I just put Ariana in first.
Wow, she's so good.
Listen, I'm like Anita. Like even like 3 months ago we were talking about this. Like Anita is a great role.
It's the best. It's such a great role. It's
and
undeniably.
She kills it. Like amazing. Like they really kind of like fleshed out that relationship between her and Bernardo, and they opened up like the America sequence, like took it to the streets, like literally, and not the rooftop, like in the original. And yeah, like she crushes it. Like I've always said, like this is like not a slight on like Maria or Tony or like Ansel and Rachel, but I've always like enjoyed like the supporting characters in West Side Story more. Like
so great.
I've never seen the stage production, but like I remember watching the 61 version, just being like, yeah, like I care more about the supporting characters.
Yeah, I agree. And I also say like Ariana, like Anita is such a tricky part too, because at the end you actually have to buy. I mean, the story is so absurd. No offense, like, but it's just like you have to buy that like Anita is going to be like, oh, Bernardo died, and then no, again, I'm not. This is West Side. It's 60 years old.
Yeah, and it's based on Romeo and Juliet.
So Bernardo died, and she's so mad at Maria, obviously, for like knocking over dominoes that caused this to happen. And then in like one song has to like forgive her and understand her perspective. And it's like Boy Like That, obviously. And like, I don't know, I just thought that scene is so great. She really sells it, because I think at that point in the movie, you're watching and being like, how are they going to do this and make this seem logical as a viewer? And they do it in the original also. But I'm like, in this version, I was just so impressed with her in that scene with Maria and Rachel. So I don't know. I could see her winning. It would be so wonderful. I love that. But I also, what if Rita wins again? Just like
that would be so iconic. Just it's like, imagine winning 6 years later for the same movie.
It's just ridiculous. It would be totally ridiculous. But I think the moment is so, we talked about this like when we talk about West Side Story. The moment would be so incredible that it's almost hard to imagine them passing it up. But I guess we shall see what happens there. Joyce, anything else before we move on to the Critics' Choice TV nominations? I have to pull. Do you have that up? Because you could pull it up. I'll pull it up.
The list, I don't. Let me pull it up. Yeah.
And also
the movie nominations are on Monday, but TV is already out.
Yes. And then we have to talk about Succession before the finale.
Obviously.
And for once, you and I have not seen ahead. So
No,
This is
because
a delight.
they're not sending the screener early. So first world problems. I have to watch it live.
It's great watching it live though. Joyce, so what do we got here on these nominations? Do you have it up? I gotta look.
Okay, wait. I have hold on. I need to pull up the year. Okay. So Succession dominated.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it got basically everyone into acting except Connor. But it's okay because he's gonna be president, so it's fine.
I was not surprised by that just because he's not in it that much this season.
No, and they have a lot of supporting guys. So they got like Nicholas Braun, Kieran Culkin, and Matthew McFadden in again. Yes. And then they added J. Smith Cameron. It's basically like all the Emmy nominees from last year plus J. Smith Cameron. Right.
So yeah, Jeremy and Brian back in lead actor. I put Jeremy on top in my predictions of these.
Same. He won last time. And yeah, like I like that you know, he has like the performance in Seven, Too Much Birthday.
Yeah.
You know, and sure, there's a lot of discourse around him right now, which I don't think means anything. Yeah.
No. Also, it seems people, you know, I think people like him more because of that.
Yeah, and also I think like that profile was not the New Yorker profile about Jeremy Strong. Like there was not a ton of like new information about his process. Like that was already well known, and I think the reaction to it was more over the top than anything.
Yeah, as usual. Love a Twitter pile.
Shockingly, Twitter took things.
Yeah, I will say the way it was presented, it definitely led you to want to have one perspective, I think, which is that he is like a clown a little.
Yeah, but they've.
But I don't.
It just made me realize that like a lot of even Succession fans, like I don't expect non-Succession fans to like read interviews with the cast, but it made me realize that like a lot Succession fans don't consume like interviews with the cast because they've all talked about this and like how intense he is.
Brian
has
talked about that a ton, like even in his book.
Yeah, I've been sending because I've been like talking to people about this and like I've been sending them like the link to his GQ UK interview from 2 months ago when the season premiered. And he basically says the same thing, like Jeremy is very sweet, like he loves him and they just work differently and he's worried about him. And he quotes the same Olivier Hoffman story.
Very true. I will say also, I think there's like a huge generation gap between like the idea of method acting is probably like silly and like kind of like has him any different. It just kind of has lost meaning in a lot. I think when you're talking about it, but like it is a technique that Jeremy obviously uses and like Daniel Day-Lewis uses and blah, blah, blah. But I will say, like, I remember I interviewed Anthony Hopkins a long time ago, Joyce, for the movie Hitchcock. Do you remember that movie?
Wow, that was like 9 years ago.
And I was talking about acting and I asked him about it and he kind of jumped all over the idea of method acting being a joke. He was like, I'm not like one of these Daniel Day-Lewis guys. I don't have the actual quotes in front of me, but he was very, he did not take it very seriously. And it sounded a lot like Brian Cox's take on it as well, where it's like, this is a job. I'm just going to do it. And like, I don't need to like go that in depth on it. And I think that's just like Anthony Hopkins is, I would say, in the same peer group as Brian Cox. Yes. And I think that kind of is more about the generational differences between those kind of actors and, you know, between like younger actors trying it out. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, that profile was a lot of fun, and also time to a wild Succession episode, which I know we'll get to, but I just want to go just to finish up on these critics' choice. So I have Jeremy. I put Audra McDonald in for Good Fight for supporting actress over Sarah and J. Cameron Smith.
Wow. Yes. You think you're going to vote split?
I do. And I also think, since this is, again, like maybe reading too much into it, but I was like, so that category is Audra McDonald, Sarah Snook and J. Cameron Smith for Succession, and Andrew Martin and Christine Lahti for Evil. So Audra McDonald, the only solo.
Yeah, like Susan Kelechi Watson was also.
Oh, I didn't scroll down. Susan Kelechi Watson. Okay, so two solo nominees. I just feel like The Good Fight has a lot of critical acclaim and goodwill among
it critics. Does, but like it never wins anything.
I know, but this seems like a great spot. I actually have a winning Christine Baranski too. I have it 2 wins.
I have MJ winning that, but this is definitely Christine's best chance of winning. That category is just like a free for all.
Amazing category. Christine Baranski, MJ Rodriguez, Melanie Linsky for Yellow Jackets, Katja Herbers for Evil, Uzo Aduba for In Treatment, and Chiara Oriella for Cruel Summer.
incredible picks here. Yeah, but this is the only non-Succession drama category here.
Would you put Sarah in lead?
No, I think like supporting is fine. Like I think that was all, like people continue to debate that, and like for the Emmys in season 1, she was submitted in lead, and obviously they didn't get any actor nominations.
Right.
And then they punted her back into supporting for season 2, which blew up and she got in. So I do think like the two leads of the show are Jeremy and Brian.
Yes.
And but like if they were to put her in lead, sure, like I don't care, whatever, do whatever you want, maximize her nominations, I don't care.
Last one of these, Joyce. Drama supporting actor, who did you pick for Critics' Choice?
I'm doing Matthew.
I went Kieran.
I know, see, this is the problem, like this could be an actual vote split. Like I don't think like it will be an issue like, even though everyone loves Jerry, I feel like Sarah just has more material than Jay, and Jay was also missing from the 6th episode. But yeah, I could see Billy Crudup, who is the only representative of the morning show, and he won for season 1. I can see him winning again.
So I have him in second, thinking the same thing you did. I could see him winning also.
But Matthew was so good this season, and I'm just like,
he was. It's a tough category. I mean, Kieran, I think, has done the best stuff. His dick pic stuff this week was amazing.
That dick pic that truly helped him. Like just the face, like everything about that. Like the elasticity in his face, like you could just like see his soul leaving his body, and amazing. Like everything melting down, like. Incredible.
It's truly amazing. I texted you, I was like literally like hiding my eyes and yelling no at the screen. Like
are you a sicko?
Like Michael Scott when he sees Toby. I was just like, no. Oh no.
See, okay. And like as I told you, I cared more about that at the end, the dick pics, than I did about whether or not Kendall is dead.
So let's talk about this. So I don't know, spoilers, I guess. I don't know, but like
it aired.
It aired. It's been talked about. I think because of the timing of the New Yorker article, and then also the way it ends on an ambiguous note, people really were like, did they kill off Kendall? We had talked last week about whether they were going to kill
and I like tried not to like give anything away.
You were an incredible poker face. I was like, oh, I think they're going to kill Jerry off because of what it does for the show. I don't know. I mean, I'm of multiple minds here. Let me here's what I mean, like, if you killed Kendall, he's, like we said, he's the co-lead of the show. The first scene of the pilot is Kendall, right? So it's just like, this is like our entry point into the show. So if he gets killed off, it would be absolutely shocking, I would say. Like rarely would I say is a show killed off its lead character. It would be like, I don't even know, like Lost killing off Jack. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like so strange. And I know they were going to kill Jack in the pilot, but like they never did, and they wouldn't have until the end. So it would be very strange. And also to have him die in an ambiguous fashion off screen, basically, seems unlikely. That said, based on this episode, they definitely want you to think that that is the only way that he can basically defeat Logan, perversely. Because you have Logan basically in the when Shiv is talking to her mother, she has that whole thing about how like he loves she never want to get dogs because he's going to kick the dogs until they come. Like that's how he shows that he proves their love, because he'll kick the dog and then the dog will
and then
back.
Shiv is like, I'm going to do that to Tom.
Exactly. So Shiv is like her mother, but then like Logan does that with his kids, and we see that over and over again. They actually literally verbalize it in this episode, and he's done that time and again, like pulling the rug out on Shiv over and over again this season. What he's done with Kendall, like dangling the out and then like pulling it back. And blah, blah, blah. So the only way for Kendall necessarily to perversely prove that Logan is wrong would be to, unfortunately, be not alive. And so I think there's a great amount of drama that they could set up by doing that. That said, I don't know if it's worth doing, because I just think the show would be so different. And it's not the kind of show that does that. So I'll be curious to see how they like back out of that.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely want you to think that he could be dead. Yes. With the promo for the finale, which is very super Mad Men-esque. Yes. It's basically just like shut the door, sit down,
I was actually not going to watch it, and then it came across my feed, and I was like,
it tells you nothing.
It shows you nothing, and it's a lot
Absolutely
of like
nothing.
concerned faces.
Yeah. That being said, in like the season long trailer preview at the beginning of the season, there is like a scene in Italy between Connor and Kendall that we have not seen yet. That could also be cut because they've clearly cut a lot of stuff.
And there was also the scene, like you were mentioning, in the New York Mag Vulture article. There's a whole scene where like Shiv is giving some kind of speech, and
with the 4 siblings. Scene. Yeah. So which I assume is that from which that clip of Kendall and Connor's. But anyway, right. I do agree. Like I understand both sides of the argument of whether or not he's dead, because yes, you could say like there's nowhere left for him to go. Like it's like Tom just says, like he always takes L's and Logan has never taken an L. That dinner conversation. First of all, just like Logan again kicking poor Iverson. Like let me have you test drive this possibly poison mozzarella. Amazing. 98% probably not poison, just like the donuts. But anyway, that was just like heartbreaking. So I could, and he is an addict. Naomi's not there to like literally pull him back from the edge of the pool, and his kids go inside. So yes, and he drops the beer bottle. I can see him dying, and the argument that like it would set the show in a different direction, sure. But I just go back to what Jesse Armstrong said in that same Vulture story about like how he doesn't believe people can change. And like, this is like, the show is not about people changing in that way. Right. And like, he thinks that like, you show people growing, and like, it's easier to do that like in a movie, like you get that like catharsis over like 2.5 hours or whatever. But like over a show, he likes kind of, it's not stringing you along, but it's just kind of like showing that like these are horrible people, and like maybe like they don't change. And so like to me, like if Kendall were dead, I don't think that would change so much. Like I think like for like regular people, like average Joe's like, oh my God, this is like catastrophic. Like it'll change the dynamics of our relationship and blah, blah, blah. And like everything. But I feel like they would just be like, oh, he's dead. And then like,
right. I don't know if I agree with it. I'm like,
and like, okay. So like, remember like Better Call Saul, like they, spoiler alert, killed off Michael McKean's character. And then season 3, that was like an inflection point for Jimmy in that show on his way to becoming Saul. But we know like that show is about him breaking bad and like going to the dark side. We know that from the beginning. And like Jesse has literally told us like he doesn't think people change on the show.
I guess I'm like, also, how many more seasons of the show do we think there is?
I would say max 5. Like it's already been named for 4. They did not say that it's the 4th and final season.
Correct. So maybe 5, max 6, but probably 5, right? Like I think that even
or like they'll do 5, but do the split season
split
thing,
long
season,
season,
over 2 Emmy cycles.
It does feel like that's what we're tracking towards. So it's like, okay, that's a lot of television left, and the show has to be about these kids like trying to get out of the barrel basically, right? And like keep fighting. And I think if you take Kendall off the board, or any of them really, this early, that does create a void of drama, even though it would be a great conclusion to what this season I think has been about, which is like what is the line for these people, and how far will they allow themselves to be drawn into Logan's toxic world?
Yeah,
right?
Like and they're picked, and will they keep going back?
Correct. So that's,
and like he tried to leave. Kendall tried to leave.
So Kendall has tried to leave. We've seen Shiv like try to leave right at the beginning of the show. Certainly she was like out, then coming back in, and then like trying to like win, and now thinking like she could like be the top, and using like Roman.
Her trying to like girl boss Jerry. Girl, no.
It's like we've seen them all try to like do this. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I obviously like this is why the Succession is the best show on TV, I'd say, and like the writing is so good. I'm like, I don't really know where it's going to go, but I guess that's why they're doing, like, that's why they're in charge. So I'll trust that they are going somewhere or coming somewhere. Not that these people need to change, but I'm like, I will be curious to see like it does feel like Kendall has been, even if this is just a red herring and like he's alive and like whatever, it does feel like he's been completely marginalized. And like, how does he get out of this current cycle that he's in with Logan? And I don't actually know what the answer is to that. If he's not dead,
like you would say like it's probably death. Like he said like I'm out, like you win, and like Logan's like I want to keep you close. And
right, it's strange. It is strange. I'm like, it is like, what is?
I guess like the only other thing, like the only other card he has left is like the murder, the cover up, the waiter.
So that would be the one thing. Does he confess to the murder?
But then that like if that happens in the finale, then it's just like the season 2 finale.
It is like the season 2 finale, so that would be the issue. But that
unless he doesn't expose, unless it's like about him like cleansing his soul or whatever. That's a terrible phrase, but like of like, you know, he's like guilt ridden, unless like he doesn't expose anything about Logan covering up. Like if he just says like it was me.
Does he take the personal? I guess that would be the other option. Does he take the personal response? That would mean,
because like that's his thing too. Like he's like, I don't think like Roman and Shiv are like completely delusional that they're good people, but Kendall keeps saying that he's a good person. He literally says it to Logan at the dinner table. Yes. And at the beginning of the season, he thinks he's like the savior, you know, like he's so like high on his supply. Right. So like it's just him admitting that he's not like, a good person. I'm doing a good thing here.
So if he admits he's not a good person, is that the arc for Kendall then this season? It could be. And then if he confesses to the murder or the manslaughter or whatever it's going to be, does he just take the responsibility himself? And does that show that he's like, you know, moved on? I do think one reason why he wouldn't be killed off this season is because that has remained such a juicy like thing in the background, you know, like the death of that waiter, and that he ran away from, that I wonder if they're not going to want to like, just if he dies, that goes with like, and nobody cares that Logan covered it up, really. I don't think.
Because Logan's never going to reveal it.
Right. So I think and they clearly brought that back up in this episode with like the podcast of the Curse of the Roys.
And also in the 3rd episode when like Colin was just like staring in
and he's like, I know you. I know who you are. Whatever he says to him, he's like, I know you. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder, do you think people will be, let's assume he's not dead, because like I said, like you're not going to kill him off screen, and it just,
I mean, I guess like, you know, like the nanny or the kids could find him and they bring him to the hospital. Right. And, so like, if he's not alive and then dies later.
I guess that's an option. Or if he's not dead, let's say, will people like will this be the thing that get people to turn on the show? Like, I know there's been critiques this season that nothing's happening and blah, 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 but also people love the show and it's been like, remains like a tremendous critical success. Will people be like, oh, that feels like a cheat?
Ironically, I feel like if they do kill him off, I think that's what's going to make the detractors be like, oh, they're finally doing something. Like, right. It's interesting. It is. They're cutting him off. Like,
Joyce, I know we say this every week. Can't we get this into Best Picture? Is there any way? Can we just change the rules?
I mean, there are 10 slots now.
The last episode is 64 minutes. Maybe the finale is like 80 minutes.
Yeah, just
almost a movie.
Yeah,
it's almost a movie. 80 minutes would qualify. I'd say that could work.
I mean, that's just what like 17 minutes shorter than Belfast.
Yeah, so. It could be in. Joyce, I think we should end it there. So you don't think he's dead? I don't either, honestly.
No, and like I think I told you this, like that wasn't even the first thing that like crossed my mind in the episode, and then I was like, oh, I guess he could have drowned, and then I realized like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna freak out about this.
Everyone freaked out about it. Yeah. It could just be like we've seen that, like, I mean, like I've seen, you know, a man in a pool is a very graduate.
Also, what if he's just, remember Logan was like, how long was that kid sucking in water for? Maybe he was just trying to, you know, see how long he could suck in water.
A depressed drunk man in a pool from like The Graduate to like Rushmore. We've seen it a million times. So it's like, that doesn't mean those people are dying or drowning. We don't know how it ends. So yeah, I guess we'll see Sunday night. I'm very excited. I get the feeling based on the preview and just how I think the show works, that will not be immediate. I think the show will open with like something completely well, either the wedding or like that meeting in the teaser. There is a clip of Logan and Roman meeting with A-Scars, right? Mm-hmm. I could see that being like the opening of the episode, to be honest.
Yeah. And also I will say that like the show doesn't pull tricks. Like it's very
Yes.
like not always like what you see is what you get, but it's not trying to be like this like mystery box of a show.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Joyce, this has been fun. We'll talk. I can't wait to talk about this on Sunday night. I'll be texting you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.